Warning, this podcast contains explicit sexual language and should only be listened to at work if you're looking for an excuse to connect with your HR representative. Additionally, all mentions of the word women include cis, trans, NB, genderqueer, gender fluid, and those still figuring it out. Yes, you are welcome here.
Will you open up with me? These pages, they can feed your innermost desires. Do you feel inspired? Are you getting what you need? Are you coming curiously? A secret safe with me. And here you can simply be yourself. Jay's Sweet Romance. Come on in, come on in, come on.
We are back this week with part 2 of my conversation with Nat from Trigger Warning Romance. If you did not listen to part 1, pause, go back, and return when you're ready.
Mom,
Mhm.
little spanky action every now and then. But that's like the most like crazy we get. Like it's really not that insane. So yeah, you can read whatever you want to read. It doesn't. The other thing I like to talk about on my podcast is that it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. A lot of
Mhm.
authors like to defend dark romance by saying that it helps rape victims, and it does. It absolutely, there is that section of it, like where a lot of people like to read dark romance, and especially like non-consensual romance,
Mhm.
because they've had their own sexual kind of like abuse situation and they want to work through it through reading dark romance, and is completely valid. But I don't want people to think that that's the only kind of people that are allowed to read dark romance.
No,
There's
and
nothing wrong with just reading it for fun.
no, there's nothing wrong with reading it for fun. If you enjoy it, you can read it. There is a huge difference between fantasy and reality. And the point that you make about horror is exactly right. You can watch a horror movie, you can watch a slasher film, you can watch I don't want to say a mob movie because we're talking about mafia and I was thinking Al Capone, but you can watch those type of a heist movie. You can watch Ocean's 11 and not
Yeah.
want to go rob a casino. And the same is true with dark romance. You can watch something, there can be something really cathartic for you
Mhm.
and not want the same experience. One of the things that I'm getting from this conversation, and I could be off base, it could be my own brain working through this, is we've talked about how in dark romance, usually there's an MMC love interest that has taken love to obsession, that
Yeah.
has taken passion to pushing to this primal need.
Mhm.
And there's something to be said about letting things within ourself that are usually so reined in. Like, you can't grab your husband and have sex with him whenever you want because you have 2 small children and a life and things. You can't just make out viciously. You can't always be in those moments of deep all-consuming love for your partner because
Mhm.
they didn't do the dishes last night, and that's a reality, and now you're looking at dirty dishes, and it was your travel mug, and now you don't have a way to get coffee to work today, and all you need is caffeine. And
Mhm.
so letting emotions or relationships or that sexual energy go to the extreme can be incredibly cathartic if you don't get to.
Yeah. And also it's like in most of these books, it's this tough hero that has never felt a feeling before. He doesn't know what love is. He can never love. And then something about this heroine just grabs him from like the first second.
Mhm.
And I can't remember. I think it was it was The Bad Guy by Cecilia Aaron. He's a like legitimate psychopath. and he's never felt a feeling before. He's absolutely insane, but he's this like billionaire, whatever. And he kidnaps one of his coworkers' girlfriends because he loved her from the minute he saw her, but he had absolutely no idea that he loved her. But he just kept getting these funny like scenes of like every time he thought of her, he would get heartburn. So he'd be like popping Tums the whole time. And it's like, dumbass, that's feelings. You're having feelings, but he's never felt a feeling for his entire life. So this is a brand new situation to him. And like, there's something really fun and powerful and like making a man that's never felt a feeling feel like all the feelings for you, or like as the heroine.
All the feelings. And that connects back to this stupid societal expectation that like men don't feel things and they don't express emotion, and to have someone express an emotion for you so outwardly, that's really exciting. Like, wouldn't you love those grand gestures or those declarations of devotion from a partner all the time, right? All the time.
I mean, yes and no. Like sometimes it's like, I've had my poor husband. I'm like drag him. I've told this story on my podcast, but anytime like everybody thinks they want a dark romance book boyfriend until they get a dark romance book boyfriend, and then you're like, holy. Anytime my husband drinks a little bit too much, he turns into a dark romance book boyfriend, and he is just absolutely unhinged and like, just, I need you, I love you, let me just tell you all the things, like, let's just have sex for like 4 hours, and like, we have 2 small children, like, this isn't gonna happen, you're not a billionaire, we don't have nannies, I am so like, this is your own fault, like, firstly you should be a billionaire, and then, you know, but and it's just like so much fun because he's always like, well, you know, you want these things. I'm like, no, babe, like, I love you. I want you. Like, I love reading about these things. But yeah, he turns into a dark romance. I call him my whiskey dark romance book boyfriend, because anytime whiskey's involved, it's over.
That's amazing. And let's also recognize that what you're reading as a 4-hour sexathon, you're reading it in 5 minutes, in maybe 10 minutes if it's really descriptive. You spend 10 minutes on a scene that is described as like, oh my God, we had sex for 4 hours.
Yeah.
You would not want sex for 4 hours.
Nobody wants sex for 4 hours. Your lady bits would fall off. Like,
the average is 11 minutes.
Yeah, that's
if you have 20 minutes of intimate time, you are almost double that average. Good on you.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yes. Congratulations, babe. You are fantastic. You are the best man at the sexy things that I've ever manned. However, and again, I'm not saying anything out. Like, I've told him this all the time. I'm like, I love ya, but my lady bit's gonna fall off. Like, just let's go to sleep. But yeah, like that's why you don't want these things in real life. That's why they're so amazing in books, right? Like the heroine can have like 15 orgasms at a time, back to back to back to back, and is like somehow still alive by the end of it. You know, like if you did that to a real human being, like they would pass out after 5. You know, they would not be conscious.
Oh my gosh. Yes, thank you. So to bring us back on track.
Yeah, why not?
Kind of. I mean, sure, if we feel up to it. Because I do have some more questions. You've gone deep into the world of dark romance, and I'm gonna make the assumption that you have been reading for many years, and that you've read books not just written now, but written in the past. You went into the backlog of dark romance books. What have you seen change in the dark romance genre? What are things that didn't exist when you first started reading dark romance that you have now seen brought into these stories?
Well, firstly, it's trigger warnings. Nobody had trigger warnings in the back in the day.
Mhm.
Now it should, like we said before, like it should be there. But it's a standard. Like this is the things that you're going to expect in this book. If you're not comfortable, kind of skip ahead or don't, skip this book. The other thing is it's very unapologetic, and all these heroes, like are not these heroes that are like then somehow redeemed at the end. A
Mhm.
lot of times, like if we're reading Kristen Fihan or for example, and like, the hero is like this horrible person who's more or less forced his will upon this woman who he's now claimed as his, but at the end, like he comes and like apologize and like learns from his mistakes, like that, and it's very like apologetic, right? Like, oh, I'm so sorry. He's gone through his arc, he's learned his lesson, and now he is a better man for it. Like now in today's books, unapologetic. He's always a piece of shit, but he's her piece of shit, so that's fine. Like, and I love that, because in real life, like a person who's pretty horrible is usually pretty horrible for the
Mhm.
entire like their entire life. It's not like this Hollywood thing where they like learn some lesson.
Yeah.
And again, I love that in dark romance, because they're horrible people. They're murderers. They run mafias. They kill people. They scam people. They're bad people. They're not meant to be good people. So you can't just. It's less of the morality chain, I would say, because before it was more of the morality chain where
Mhm.
the heroine would pull the hero out of the darkness, right?
I've changed for you.
Yes. But
No.
in today's dark romance, it's more like the heroine gets pulled into his darkness and like his world. She's now running the mafia right along with him, and they're raising their 5 kids, no problem. So that's kind of like the main thing, I would say. That's what's changed. It's less apologetic. It's more
Yeah.
blunt. It's more in your face. It's not as veiled.
Yeah. Side
before-
question.
Yeah.
Does a happily ever after for you involve marriage and babies?
No.
Cool.
It is very traditional,
Yeah.
and I'm for it because I'm also into like forced pregnancy and breeding in my books. So if you want to do that, go right ahead. But no, it doesn't have to be. I feel happily ever after just has to be them happy together at the end. That's
Mhm.
the only thing. They have
Yeah.
to be together and they have to be happy. That's it.
Love
The
it.
world could burn for all I care.
But they're together.
But they're together.
All right. So you started your podcast for dark romance readers who needed a place to not feel weird about reading dark romance.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to tell non-dark romance readers? Not people who've tried it and hated it and said no thank you, but people who've maybe never dipped their toe in, been too afraid, or felt like they shouldn't. What do you want to tell them?
I want to say there's nothing wrong with never reading a dark romance if you're not comfortable with it. No one's forcing it upon you. And if you want to try, if you feel so inclined after listening to this, being like, "It's kind of interesting," like, and it seems intriguing, then do not just jump in. Like, don't go to a 300 level book, because you most likely, unless you are like, I guess, secretly really, really into this stuff and like you don't want to admit it to yourself. But most people, I wouldn't want to just push into like the Haunting Adeline version of books.
I do. What are those level 100, 101, dark romance
Level-
101?
I would say start with Zoe Blake's Dark Obsession series. They're mafia light. Like, there's a little bit of dubious consent. There's some kidnapping, but it's nothing horrific. It's a lot of fun, and Zoe writes a really spicy book. And then another one I would say is by Vivian Murdoch. It's called Dark Revolution. It is book 1 of the Alphas of Stanleon's series. And that is another like level 100 dark
Yeah.
Omegaverse. And that's like a whole, you need a whole other episode for Omegaverse. This is like a whole new world over there.
I can bring you back. I can bring you back for it.
Sounds good.
See you in a couple weeks.
I don't want to overwhelm everybody. Because Dark Omegaverse is another bananas situation.
Also, if you heard Omegaverse and you want to learn about it, do not make the mistake I made and go to the Wikipedia article for Omegaverse, because that was how I first tried to research. And yeah, just do yourself a favor. Steffi is crying, laughing.
I accidentally just started reading one, and I was like, "What's happening?"
I'd read a bunch. So it's so funny because I'd read what I now know to be Omegaverse. I'd read multiple books and multiple series, but I kept hearing this term and I hadn't looked at it. I hadn't thought about it. And so when I was making our first book definitions episode, Omegaverse was a term that I came across and I went, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
Found Wikipedia and went, oh my God, this article. But when I looked at books that were Omegaverse, went, oh, I've read a lot of these. Okay, Oops. Got it. I've read many of these. The books were less shocking than the Wikipedia article. Just okay, so we've got some.
Now I have to go look up this Wikipedia article.
It goes so. I'm not finishing that sentence.
Okay.
You're a level 500 dark romance girly. You probably can handle it. I was not there. But since we've got we have satisfied our non-dark romance readers in case they are ready to dip a toe in. What is it that you want to tell your dark romance readers? You have a whole podcast. Y'all, if you're a dark romance reader and you have jived with this conversation at all, go subscribe to Trigger Warning Romance. But right here, right now, what is it that you want them to know?
And there's nothing wrong with you. You are perfectly awesome. Just keep being you, keep reading your dark romance, and don't let anybody tell you that you're weird for liking it. You are not weird. There is nothing wrong with you. And tell everybody who is a hater to go fuck themselves.
Go fuck themselves.
That's pretty much it.
There's a dark romance, like 13-inch ribbed penis. Like,
yeah. With a knot.
With a knot. Oh my gosh.
No, that's it. I just want everybody to be happy reading whatever brings you joy, right? As long as you're not harming somebody else, doesn't matter what you're reading, doesn't matter what you're watching. Like, reading is like the most passive activity. Like, just let us read in peace.
And it's the most personal. Like, this is about you and your book and your preferences. And no one should be able to tell you that it's wrong or it's weird or anything. For those of you who followed Dark December on social media, I had a really hard time and I had a lot of I'm going to go with preconceived notions of what I would find when I started reading dark romance. Mm-hmm. And as someone who in my life and in the real world really champions consent and communication, especially when it comes to sex, vanilla or kink, I judged a lot of dark romance. Like, how can you like this? Blah, blah, blah. And the fact of it is most, if not all, I'm not going to say all because you just can't guarantee it, but most dark romance is written as the fantasy, not the how-to guide.
Yes.
So please enjoy the fantasy, revel in the fantasy, go read a scene and then have some great vanilla with sprinkle sex with your partner. And that's fine. if you're looking for a how-to guide for kink or play, which in and of itself is not dark, like that's something that I think also has come into play in for a lot of non-dark romance readers, is that
Mm,
kink, if you're someone who only reads very fluffy vanilla, you might assume kink and dark are the same thing, and they are not.
mhm.
And that is probably an episode that I should do. But these are books about love and about passion, and they are totally worth your time if you can. And as Seffi is telling me, don't yuck someone's yum.
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
The other phrase that I need to get put on a sweatshirt or something is kink is customizable. I think I
Yeah.
say it like kink is customizable. So yeah,
Rara might have a sweatshirt with that on it. So
so many rhinestones. Um I don't even want to say that I've come to the end of my questions. I don't want to say that because this is fun.
we
And
can do it again.
we can do it again sometime.
I can bribe my husband to watch the kids for a couple more hours another night.
For those of you who have been following and were wondering, Nat is the person who told me to read 5,000 Nights of Obsession. That was a
Mhm.
recommendation from her, and totally worth it. If you,
Yes.
I think what I most enjoyed was that it was a dark romance that kind of defied a lot of things that I think about dark romance. So
Yeah.
Nat knows what she's talking about.
Drethy is an incredible author. And 5,000 Nights of Obsession was, like you said, it is not a traditional romance. There's cheating in it, which is like a no-no in a lot, even in dark romance. Like
It's like
the joke is,
no.
yeah, it's like the no-no. Like we will completely forgive him for murder, but we will not forgive him for cheating, right?
Mhm.
That is a no-no. But it is like forced cheating in that book, and it is delicious and fabulous. And just the way she wrote that book and like weaved in all of the traditions and culture, like it's just a level perfection in my humble opinion. Like the spices, spicy.
It's spicy.
Yeah, it's spicy, and it's so much fun. I love that. I mean, Drethy is one of my favorite authors. She is not a level 100. So if you've never read a
I was
dark
going to say,
romance,
what
do
level?
not.
What level do you think she is?
Oh, she's level like 400 up.
I'm so proud of myself. So
Yeah.
proud. Thank you.
I'm glad you liked it. I was a little nervous.
I was a little nervous too. I'm not gonna lie. When that came out, I said I was gonna do it, and I just went, okay, just. I mean, I don't want to make the joke of like lie back and think of England, but like let's just see where we're going with this, because I thought that I had really delved into a lot of the dark romance, and I did. There were many books read, but I was about to talk to an expert, a true connoisseur of the genre. So, okay, Seffi, fine. Here are my final questions. The final questions that I like to ask my guests as they leave are, what is your favorite romance novel?
Oh, that is a hard question. My favorite.
I know.
That changes like daily. I have to look at my Kindle. Like I would say, okay, you know what? I have an answer.
Oh,
I would say it is a book that I reread often. And it's almost like a comfort read, which it probably means that I'm absolutely unhinged. It's called, hang on, I gotta go to my Kindle because you know me and titles. I'm not great. It's called Omega Awakening by L.V. Lane. It is an Omega verse. It is a dark Omega verse. It is, I would say, a level, it's probably like 300 plus. Because there's a lot of like you talk about an obsessed hero. He is an obsessed hero. It's let's talk tropes. Age gap, non-con, forced mating, kidnapping, more or less, severe manipulation, but a complete obsession, like, and devotion. So it is a Cinderella retelling in an Omegaverse form.
Oh, damn it. I love fairy tale retellings.
Oh, it's really good. It's
Damn it.
really good. Like I said, I reread it quite often. I'm rereading it now because I think we might do a podcast episode on it. Either with Lo, but Lo is not feeling great recently, so I might just make my husband read it and talk to me about it.
If you want, I will do it.
Oh, okay.
If you want, I will do that. You can take that out of this episode, Michael, if that doesn't work. But like, if you want, I'll read it and we can find a time to record for you.
That sounds great.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to force you to read my favorite Omegaverse.
That's fine. It's been a while since I've done Omegaverse, actually. Because I don't count Bride as Omegaverse.
Okay.
She's a vampire, so it's not really Omega. No. Doesn't matter that he has a knot. Okay.
No, the Omegaverse is very specific. And
so fucking specific.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, like Allie Hazelwood fans that don't know what Omegaverse is. It's not.
And Allie Hazelwood loves Omegaverse.
I think she fully understood that this was not Omegaverse. It doesn't say Omegaverse. It says paranormal. Like,
okay.
I don't think she's been calling it Omegaverse.
Okay.
But other people have been like, oh my God, there's like a fated mate situation. She like smells her and loves her. And there's a knot. And I'm like,
that's fated mates. That's not Omegaverse.
Thank you. Don't go to the Wikipedia article. Just find someone on TikTok, search Omegaverse and figure it out that way. Okay. Question number 2. Question number 2. Where/how do you prefer to read? You've mentioned a Kindle. Do you read physical books, audiobooks?
I read a little bit of everything. My preferred way is Kindle because it's just so convenient. And you can read it anywhere. Like it can be on your phone. I do prefer the Kindle Paperwhite. It's my favorite. And in bed, like all snuggled up with a snack. That's my favorite way. But I do also really like audiobooks because for work, I do a lot of driving. So it just keeps me going.
Are you listening to Butcher and Blackbird audiobook? Or
yes, I am.
Oh my God, it's so good. Okay, because like reading it is great, but listening to Joe Arden, I don't particularly like his voice, actually, like in general, but
it works.
Oh my God, have you gotten to the spicy part yet?
No, I just started it today.
Jesus fucking Christ, you're gonna die. I literally, I can't, Stephanie knows this. I like re-listen to that, like those 3 chapters, like every week.
Okay. It sounds good.
Okay.
Jace, here's the best part. I started a book club with my Girl Scout moms.
Yes.
This is what we're reading.
I like, this is, okay, again, I think this is morally gray, but definitely not dark romance. It's the way that I haven't finished the Mindfuck series, but I started the Mindfuck series. And like, their relationship is beautiful and lovely, and I love everything about them, but wow, the situation they're in. Sloane and Rowan, I can't, I just love them so much. They're so great for each other.
They are. But again, these are my Girl Scout moms. Like, I'm tiptoeing them in. I don't want them to run away from me. We read The Bad Guy by Cecilia Aaron, who I told you about, like the Tums. That was the other one. He was also another like morally gray. Like he did something that I hate in romance, where he was like, I won't touch you until you make me and you beg me. And I'm like, man, that's boring. What kind of sociopath are you with feelings?
Consent.
Yeah. And my favorite is that, like, I was talking to one of the moms and she's like, how do I tell the other moms there's not enough rape in this book? And I'm like, one of us. One of us. That's the other thing I want to say. Like, rape fantasy is so common among women. Like that's just another
Rape or
way.
forced, or like if you
Yeah.
don't want to, like, because rape is a thing and rape is bad.
Yeah.
I personally think of them for me as forced sex fantasies. They
Yeah,
are
forced seduction.
so normal. So
Yeah.
normal.
Totally. Again, and if you want to, you know, consensually do that with your partner, go ahead. But like, I've never had even an inkling to try it. Like, I've never even, and I'm very comfortable with my husband. Like, I would ask him if I wanted to, but it's not something that I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
But because like, maybe it's because I read so much of it and I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I've read like a little too much of it today. I'm not saying never, like never say never, right? We've been together for a very long time. Maybe one of these days something gets a little boring and I'm like, hey, babe.
Okay, back to the actual questions.
Yes.
So number
Sorry.
3, we have this idea at Joyce Reads Romance called comfy sexy. And it's the idea that in your safest of spaces, in your comfiest of clothes or places or whatever, you can still explore your sexuality by reading a romance novel. So just with that in mind, what does comfy sexy mean to you?
My bed, my husband's pajamas, some sort of snack because I love eating. Usually a cheese, some sort of cheese form, like a string cheese or a goat cheese with this. And now I'm just hungry. So a book, a Kindle, usually a Kindle because again it's just easier to hold. My husband's pajamas, like candles, a clean house.
Oh,
That is fantastic. I get that about once every 2 weeks. We have a clean house, and then it's good for like an hour, and I can just sit. So, and then like I put on my fake fireplace, and the kids are asleep, so nobody's yelling. It's lovely.
that's great.
And my husband's playing video games next to me. Like we're coexisting.
Oh my gosh, that not all stereotypes are true, but
No,
some
but
of
this
them
one
are
is.
pretty accurate.
Yes, I know. I'm well aware that but it's like the perfect relationship because nobody's mad that the other person is doing a whatever. You're just, and like I said, you're coexisting. Like you're still sitting there. Every now and then I giggle. He looks over me and I read him a book passage and.
Hopefully he's not like mic'd live with anyone.
No, he only plays by himself. I'm really bad at like names of games, but he plays, what is that game? The zombies.
I will never know. You could make up any name and I'd be like, that's great. I don't know.
The Last of Us. The Last of Us.
Oh, the one with the TV show. So
yes. I think that's the name of it. God, who knows? But yeah, no, that's my comfy sexy.
Comfy sexy. So follow-up question is, when do you feel your sexiest?
After a couple of glasses of wine. If I'm being honest. Yeah, usually alcohol is involved. It's liquid sexy.
Liquid sexy.
Yeah, usually, and I mean, yeah. After a couple of glasses of wine, again, and like, I do like me a nice lingerie situation. I feel like it puts you in the right state of mind. You know, it's something that my husband could care less about. Like he's just happy again. It's not for him, it's for me. Like he enjoys it like as a side, but it puts you in the right state of mind and then you can it's like your mask. Like you personify like an ulterior kind of human.
Yeah.
Especially I feel like as a mom, it's really important because 95% of the time I am looking kind of, guys can't see me like this. I'm like in a loose sweatshirt with like ice cream stains and like again either my husband's pajamas or sweatpants because I can't find mine, or like ripped leggings from 2006. Like it's or like my work outfit, which I do feel pretty good in, but it's not sexy because it's a work outfit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important. I feel like as a mom, I think that's also why reading is important. Like it's a whole, and that's why I started the podcast during maternity leave. I needed to do something other than a mom who was keeping a small child alive. And like, yes, that's important, but I felt like I was losing my mind.
Final question. What is the one thing you want women to know about sex and sexuality? You might call this your soapbox thing.
I feel like I've already preached about my soapboxing, but I'll get back on my little thing. Like, don't be ashamed of reading what you like. There's nothing wrong with you. Embrace whichever genre of reading, and whether it be the darkest of dark or like even the happiest and feather light of romances, because women get made fun of for reading romance in general. So don't let anybody make fun of you and tell you that you're lesser because you read for fun and for pleasure rather than like reading the biography of George Washington. Like, read whatever brings you joy. That's my soapbox. Do whatever brings you joy as long as it's not harming anybody else, and never be ashamed of what you like.
Thank you. Nat, this was incredible. And I'm so grateful that you have taken this time with me and with Seffi. And I hope, listeners, that you got just as much out of this as I did. If they wanted to find you and Trigger Warning Romance, where could they do that?
Very easy. Well, you can just go to triggerwarningromance.com. And then from there, we're on TikTok at Trigger Warning Romance, Instagram at Trigger Warning Romance. You can join the Trigger Warning Romance listeners support group on Facebook. And that, we do have a Discord, but I'm really not on there too often. So don't do that. But yeah, just you can subscribe to the podcast. We're on wherever you can pretty much listen to a podcast. But yeah, just triggerwarningromance.com will take you to wherever you need to go.
Amazing. I will make sure all of that is in the show notes. And have an incredible night, y'all. Thanks again to Nat.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. That's it for today, y'all. This has been a 3 Paws Productions podcast. Our producer is Seffi. Michael Achenbach is our patient editor. Our theme song is written and performed by Diana Weishauer. You can find show notes and so much more at jacereadsromance.com. That's JAYCE Reads Romance. Follow along on TikTok and Instagram at Jace Reads Romance. If you'd like to ask a question or share a story for the podcast, call and leave a message at 661-JACE-RR. That's 661-529-2377. Or send an email to jace@jacereadsromance.com. Finally, like and subscribe so you can get every episode when they drop. You can also leave us a review to help others find us. And remember, this is Jace holding space for you.